Yo, hello everybody and welcome back yet again to another daily update video. My name is CryptoStash and I hope you are having an amazing weekend. Currently it is Sunday and Bitcoin is still consolidating in this tight range right here. As you can see, we are trading above the weekly pivot. We will be getting in about 15 hours a new weekly pivot levels, which would be very interesting to see where price will be having the bigger confluence about next week. But as of right now, we are still sitting in a no man's territory basically, since we are not at extreme levels. We are not at the value area low, neither we are at the value area high right here for a potential rejection, but for a potential short play right here, you could say we might go up and try and sweep those highs right here at 118 or around 120k. Basically, it is possible that we go all the way up to the value area high right here before getting a further rejection down, or it is possible that we might consolidate here a bit longer before the month of September is over, since as I said before in my previous videos, I am not expecting that Bitcoin would put in a new high, basically a new all-time high during September. I don't think that has happened ever, and I don't think it will happen now based on the historical data. But as of right now, as you can see on the lower time frame, RSI is also sitting neutral. On the daily, the RSI is still kind of neutral, right around the 54 of the line, as you can see. So we are potentially gearing up for a major move during next week, in my opinion. Let's see on the weekly time frame. We had 3 bullish weekly candles in a row, so it is possible that next week we would open up on the red side potentially. As I said, my doom target still stands at around 93.7k, or potentially we will dip down at 98k. Basically those two levels, in my opinion, will have the biggest confluence ever. 14% down until 98k from the current prices, and about 19% down from the current prices down to 93k. Basically, if we measure from the all-time high down to my target, as you can see, that would set us in about $30,000 of a correction, or about 24%, which is basically that peak of a correction. Bitcoin tends to bottom out. As you can see, we had 35,000 in price change, which was 33% back then, but right now that would only be about 25%. As you know, since the price is higher, the percentages do change, but this is why you need to look at the price change. Basically over 30k would be considered a very deep correction for Bitcoin, in my opinion. This is why I am looking at those levels for a potential reversal. Now it is possible that price wicks down towards extreme deep zones like 85 or 80k, but this is, in my opinion, not a likely scenario with all the institutional inflows that has been happening for Bitcoin, and also not happening because the stock market, as you can see, is right now sitting at a very new all-time highs, which is also correlating with the price of Bitcoin. Now if you look at some of the altcoins like Ethereum, you can see basically we are trading below the weekly pivot. Still we will get new weekly pivots, but right now we are nowhere on the extreme sides of the levels. As you can see, we are exactly in the middle, and this is where you absolutely should not take any trades. Basically in the middle of the range, you either wanna long the extremes or short the extremes. Basically this is what those levels are for, and this is what you want to look out for. Basically Solana is right now starting to consolidate also in kind of a range at almost the all-time high. So basically if we measure right here, you can see Solana is also right now bouncing from the value area low, and right now we are still trading above it, but we are still also the same thing for Solana. we are in the middle of the range, which is exactly where you don't want to be taking any positions. SUI is sitting at the weekly pivot. Let's look at it on a bigger time frame, but we are also at the middle of the range, which is not a good level to be considering some positions. Basically XRP sitting at that POC right here, currently trading kind of below it, so you might consider somewhat of a position, but it depends on what Bitcoin does, and if Bitcoin starts pushing lower, then XRP would potentially test $2.82, or basically the value area low level right here. The RSI is sitting kind of neutral at the 50 line, basically. The same for SUI. Now Hype is having somewhat of a bigger correction the past 3 days, around 10%. We are still above that weekly pivot. RSI is getting nice and cooled off, but overall the structure on Hype is still very nice and bullish to the upside, as you can see. The pump token did get also a correction of around 25%, like after getting the RSI very overbought right here. As you can see, it was due for a correction. Now we might see somewhat of a continuation, but right now there is a other hot token which is basically stealing the liquidity out of the market. That would be Aster, which is the new token of the perpetual DEX of Binance. Basically CZ did tweet about this exchange, and since he tweeted about this exchange, their token, which is basically the same exchange like Hype, but their token since the launch has been doing around 250%. This was after listing on the major exchanges like Mexi, Bybit, Binance, but on their perpetual DEX platform, I think it was listed like 0.017 cents. So basically it did very well, like a 10x in price, I'm pretty sure. But this is right now what has been having the move. Basically the for the couple of, I think since Wednesday, it has been like almost 5 days since it is launched, 3 days since it is launched on the major exchanges. But as you can see, it has been up only. People are going crazy about. Some people made a lot of money on this coin, but if it will continue or if it will look like Hype, basically that it can be up only, we will see about that. Nobody can be for sure, but this is just something that I want to share with you guys. Now back at Bitcoin, if we look at the liquidation data, we have still liquidity sitting to the downside, as I mentioned in my previous video, which is very, very possible to be taken out at the beginning of next week. Also, as I said, as you can see, the liquidity at the top side would be potentially grabbed first, so we can get like 2-3% of a pump to around 118k, and then that correction would potentially start. The Bitcoin ETF inflows, nothing new. We had last week just 51 million of outflows, and since then we had basically, you can see very nice inflows. Fear and Greed index still remaining the same for today, neutral 48, basically closer to that fear zone. The long versus shorts ratio for today overall is we do have once again more sellers in the market, and something very interesting on Hyperliquid, we do have many more sellers, as you can see, than buyers. So this is very interesting and something to keep an eye on for the price of Bitcoin. And if we have any news for next week, we do have Pau speaking on Tuesday. We do have price index on Friday, and we do have some news on Thursday, which would be important for Bitcoin, unemployment claims. And yes guys, that will be it for today's update video. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you again in the next week. Bye.